So, welcome to Big Jimny. With it being the end of 2018, the new Suzuki Jimny is now available in UK dealers to test drive, and from the 1st of January it will be available on general release for purchase within the UK. With that in mind, and with the availability of a demonstrator, I thought it was time to do a UK based review of the Jimny. So it was off to Bristol through the kindness of roadworthy Suzuki and an extended test drive. Will I decide that this Generation 3 Jimny is where I should stay, or should I move on to the brand new Suzuki Jimny for 2019? Watch through to the end of the video and see what I decide.
The most striking feature of the new Jimny is its retro styling. I love it. It looks just like an SJ, or at least an evolution of the SJ. The boxy shape, the squared off corners, the general roofline. It's just like an SJ. It also looks bigger than the old Jimny, but in fact the dimensional changes are minimal. It's just a visual effect. It's actually around 1 inch shorter than the old Jimny. It is about 1.5 inches wider and 1 inch higher, so minimal changes, but the overall effect is fantastic. In the UK we have two models, the SZ4 and the SZ5. The easiest way to tell them apart are the alloy wheels and the white LED headlights that are fitted to the SZ5 model. The new Jimny also has gutters as part of the retro styling, which will make fitting a roof rack easier. Underneath we see the appearance of a steering damper for the first time. This was an aftermarket modification on many Jimnys for the last generation, but for this generation it's fitted as standard. The previous generation of Jimnys suffered from the rear shock absorber mount breaking. This new generation sees what appears to be a bolted through shock absorber, which was the modification most people had to make to their Jimnys when the mount broke. All Jims are now fitted with a 1.5 petrol engine, which develops 101 horsepower and 130 newton meters. This is up on the old model and should provide a useful boost to the performance of the Jimny. The retro SJ styling is also applied to the inside. The return of the good old grab handle that was a feature of the SJs, along with the squared off instruments. This being an SZ5 model, it's also got air conditioning and sat nav. Whilst the steering wheel is a modern design with the cruise control controls on it, the instrument pods themselves are styled in the SJ styling, which I love. And a superb feature on this model, which is going to be a real key selling point, is how they've designed all of the seats now to fold flat and create a flat floor space, ideal for a dog wagon or trips to the cash and carry. So after that walk round, it's time to take her out on the road for the first time. I was immediately struck by how positive and firm the Jimny felt on the road. The steering damper and the chassis modifications make it a much better handling car than the previous generations. Those of you coming to a small 4x4 for the first time will find that the short wheelbase makes it feel a bit choppy and bumpy on the roads compared to what I'd call a normal road car. Being an upright 4x4, however, it's got a great all-round view, and the amount of glass means that visibility is superb in all directions. Now, although it's a 4x4, realistically in everyday life people are going to use it as a daily driver, and it is going to go on the motorway. Now, the 1.5 engine means that it can accelerate up slip roads and get out into the outside lane to compete on even terms with most other vehicles at the national speed limit. The ride is never going to be relaxing for long distance cruising, but it's perfectly acceptable and doesn't bounce around or blur around too much. Here we would typically expect, as we went past a bus, to be blown to one side by the wind, but it's nice and firm on the road and holds its position well. So definitely a daily drive, a car that can be used on both town roads, open roads and motorways without too many problems. As this was an on-road drive, we couldn't try out most of the new electronic gadgetry for off-road driving. However, there are some electronic gadgets fitted, such as the ability to read road signs as you go past them. Here it's reading the 40 limit and then a 30 reducing to 20 limit past a school. So that's the end of our test drive. It'd be really nice one day to be able to drive one in an off-road test, but that will no doubt come to me in the future. This wouldn't be a review without some of the downsides that we spotted on this car. Only a couple of minor ones. It's got the old SJ and Jimny feature of misting up and having to drive with the driver's window down just a touch to let the ventilation through and demist. The tie-down brackets stick out really low below the car and would probably be the first thing I would cut off if I was an off-road owner of one of these. And it's a small car, the boot space is tiny. With only 3 inches or so space at the top of the boot, it's hardly going to fit a pushchair or shopping in there, to be honest with you.
So, I hope you enjoyed the review of the new Jimny. Thanks to Roadworthy Suzuki in Bristol for arranging the extended test drive. At the beginning of the video I asked the question, would I upgrade to the new Jimny from my good old Generation 3? Yes, I would. It's a lovely little car, great on the road, and at some point in the future I'd hope to drive one off-road to see how it goes. But at the moment, obviously, my Generation 3 is fully modified, and it would take a lot to start again to build up a brand new off-roading Jimny. But I'm sure that for many people it would be ideal on the road, and I look forward to seeing many of them out and about over the coming years.